All right, welcome to our next video in our series on Introduction to Computer Science. This is Programming in Snap. I am going to be walking through some ideas about variables and how we should apply variables to our next lab, which is about producing a guessing game. So if we look at the description of the project posted online, we're going to see this PDF. I'm just going to walk through it for a quick minute, and then I'm going to show an execution of the program without showing the code. Then I'm going to cover a few blocks that you may not have used yet that might be useful for this particular kind of project. So for this project, it's going to be a good old-fashioned guessing game, like when your friend says, "Hey, I'm thinking of a number. What number am I thinking of?" And you say 12, and they say guess higher, and you say 17, and they say guess lower. And slowly, in time, you're able to whittle down to whatever that smallest number is going to be. So the way it works is in part one, we just want you thinking about the basic mechanics of the project. Your user will get to have one guess when the program is run. Say hi to the user, let them know that they should think of a number between 1 and 10, have them guess. If they get it wrong, tell them they lost. If they won, tell them they won. That'll be pretty quick. We're going to then replace that functionality in part two by letting them ask repeatedly over and over. So rather than just tell them if they won or lost the first time, you will say, "Oh, you didn't get it right. We want you to guess higher." Or "You didn't get it right. We want you to guess lower." Or "You did get it right. Hooray." And you're going to want to, at the end of the game, repeat their name back to them. So if their name is Bob, you'll say, "Good job, Bob. You won. Bob, you guessed 5 times." And then at the start of the game, one feature will be we're going to let the user pick what the highest number is. So when you generate your random secret number, if your user said they want the maximum possible number to be 50, then you should be generating a random number between 1 and 50. And after each guess, they should be prompted to guess higher or lower. All right, that's very doable. I think where this lab gets a little challenging is we're going to add some catch-up features. And what that means is if they are struggling, I would say if they get it wrong more than 3 times, it's okay to start providing hints. Because if you have to test your code and you have to put in 5 wrong answers in order to get to the hints, it can be kind of tedious. So let's say if they get it wrong 3 times, you start giving hints. Maybe you tell them, "Okay, you're not getting very close. I'll tell you the number is even," or maybe the number is odd. Or let's say they give a guess and you want to be like, "Actually, you're going the wrong way. Your last guess was closer." Or maybe if they're still getting it wrong, you can tell them when they get close, "Hey, you're within 5." If you would like to suggest to the teacher some other kind of catch-up feature you want to add, you totally can. But it should be interesting. Just saying something like "the secret number is not 37" is kind of a stupid hint and doesn't really help. I want you to make a hint that will push your logic skills. All right, so let's make sure. Excellent. So the code is hidden. I'm not going to show my code. That would be the solution. That would just be giving you the project. But I do have game show legend Bob Barker, Price is Right, right here. He's going to be the sprite that does the talking for me. I'm showing the variables that I've used. I don't want you to think those are the only variables that can be used, right? You may decide to use fewer. You might decide to use more. As the programmer, the designer, that is a choice that you get to make. The variables I have, I recorded the name of the user, the maximum number they provided, the number of times they guessed. I made an effort to remember their last guess so I could compare whether their current guess or their last guess was closer. And then I also recorded what the secret number is. Obviously, if we wanted somebody to really play this game, we would go ahead and hide the secret number, but that's not what I'm going to do. All right, so I click the flag as I start all of my games. It says, "Welcome to the guessing game. What's your name?" My name will be Philbert. What should the largest number be? Let's go with 20. I'm going to say 20 is the largest number. Pick a number between 1 and 20. I can see the secret number is 4 just to demonstrate the functionality of the program. I'm not going to just guess the secret number right away. I'm just going to be showing you how the program works. I'm going to guess 15. And it says, "Ooh, guess lower." Okay. So then I guess 2, and it says, "Ooh, guess higher." So then I say guess 10, and it says guess lower. Now I've gotten it wrong 3 times, so after this guess, it's going to start trying to help me out. So I'm going to say 6, and it says guess lower, and then it says the secret number is even. which it is because the 4 is an even number. So then I'll say maybe 3. And then I'll say, guess higher, you are within 5. And then maybe I go the wrong way. I'll go 7, guess lower, your last guess of 3 was closer. You were within 5. So it's still telling me I'm close, but that I was too far away. So then I guess 4. By the way, we're watching all this. It saved my name, Filbert, the maximum number 20. I'm up to 6 guesses. My last guess was the number 7. The secret number is 4. I'm going to go ahead and put in 4. Good job, Filbert. The answer was 4. It only took you 7 guesses. And that's the end of the execution. If you do all that, your code is clean, your code is commented, there's no dead blocks, you followed the style guide, you get 10 out of 10 points. That's what's required. So let's talk about some of the blocks that might be useful for building Lab 7. You might be looking for something like, so let's start out with the fundamentals of our variables, right? If I want to have, to save the name of what the user is, well, I'd better have a name variable. We recall that making a variable is as easy as going to the variable category, make a variable, set name, save it right there. And remember, if you want to get that from the user, you need only say, hey, what is your name? And then save in the name variable whatever answer they give you, right? You might want to hide one of your variables. Remember, you can show or hide your variable by checking or unchecking this box. You can manually do that with show variable or hide variable, right? Those are options you can use. After every time they guess, you'll probably want to change whatever the guess variable is by 1. So I've got the change block here. So you're probably using all of these up in this corner. Then I know that some students were thinking, well, how am I supposed to combine text with a variable like Filbert? And the reason, the block that you would use for that is called the join block. When you click on it, it says hello world. So if I want to say something like that, I might say good job and then put in the name variable here. And now it says good job. Oh, 0. Name's not set yet, which is why it said 0. And I forgot a space after job, so it didn't look very good. Good job, 0. All right, good. If I want to create a random number, I can create a random number using this operator, the pick a random number. Obviously, the user is going to determine the highest number here, so that's something you'll have to figure out. And then we're going to need some good conditional logic, right? If their guess was bigger than the secret number, we tell them to guess lower. If it was lower than the secret number, we tell them to guess higher. And then a kind of loop that we might have gone over just very quickly is called repeat until. Now, by comparison, the other loops that we talked about, forever and repeat, well, repeat goes a certain number of times and then it's done. This isn't a good fit because, you know, if I say repeat 10, but it only takes them 6 guesses, I'm going to force them to guess 4 more times. That doesn't make any sense. Forever isn't a good choice because we would just make them guess forever. And you can technically, when they get it right, you could do something called stop all. That's one way to get out of this forever block, but I think that's kind of a bad workaround. I recommend repeat until. And the way repeat until works, notice that it has this little predicate slot right here. You're probably going to wait until that the answer they provide is the same as whatever the secret number is. So make them guess, 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 guess until they get the right thing, and then it'll break out of the repeat until loop. Remember, a common mistake when doing this is people will put the ask outside of the repeat until, and then the loop just keeps running because answer never changes, right? You want to ask your user inside of the loop and then put all of your if logic inside here, right? So that you're asking, you're testing, you're going through this over and over, allowing answer to change every time you go through the loop until you're able to break out. Okay, this is one of these projects that starts to get a little bit larger, and I want to remind everybody that one long script is not usually a good way to construct your code. You're going to want to break it into parts. For example, I had a broadcast in my code called give a hint. And the way it worked was if I got to a point where they had guessed too many times, I said, hey, give a hint. And then I put my hint code over here and allowed me to separate my asking the user for an answer, testing that answer was in one script, and then how do I handle giving them a hint was in another script. Speaking of hints, there's a couple of math concepts I want to make sure that we're aware of. One of them is called modulus, and the way modulus works is it gives you the remainder of a division question. And the reason it's useful is it can help us determine if something is even or odd. So if I divide 5 by 2, 2 goes in 2 times, it leaves a remainder of 1. If I say 4 mod 2, 2 goes into 4 twice with a remainder of 0. If I do 3 mod 2, 2 goes in once with a remainder of 1. If I go 2 mod 2, goes in once with a remainder of 0. And pretty soon we can see that the user is going to be giving you an answer. If you test if that answer mod 2 is equal to 0, well then you're looking at an even number, right? So that's how modulus works. Just another minute. Then absolute value is the other one we can use. Now absolute value says whatever number you put in here, I'll make it positive. So positive 10 becomes 10. Negative 7, negative 7 becomes 7. And so the reason this is handy is, we're going to have a secret number and we're going to have the user's answer and we want to know whose is closer. Well, it can get a little messy when your last guess was below the number, but this guess was higher than the number. And now when you subtract them from each other, one is negative and the other is not. And it's hard to get just the distance between the two. So I'm going to recommend you use absolute value, subtract your terms, and then that's a little bit easier to compare. So if you want to know who was closer, if you want to know if you're within 5, absolute value is a good tool for that. All right, happy programming.